And that's very true. And from my website, I've got it several times. I've quoted Naomi Wolf. One recent one was where she said she made the statement: Jefferson, Adams, Franklin, and the rest did not create liberty for America, but America for liberty, which they understood as part of universal law. The founders had made it clear that we were not supposed to see ourselves as constituents, voters, or recipients of the leadership of our representatives. We, the ordinary people, were supposed to run things ourselves. That's Naomi Wolf, and she puts it on her website, Mr. Chapman. And I love Naomi. She's a young lady. I think she's in her late 30s. I've read all 9 of her books, and I've actually looking forward to a new book to come out. And I don't know which one of the videos that you're talking about that you've got a clip on, but I do know that she's right up there, and she travels around the United States and puts out these informational spots to the universities, because Naomi's one of those women out there that feels that if you don't educate those young men in high school and college, they will be taken over by these elitists and bring forth agendas like it's okay. She feels that Hitler was right on. Take the youth and educate the youth and turn the youth against their fathers. I'm sure you agree with that.
You're right, and I lived in Germany for some time. I lived in Europe for 8 years: Germany, Switzerland, Copenhagen, Paris, London, Barcelona. Even I had a home in the Algarve in Portugal as well, and so I got a pretty good heads up of what went on over there. And in the 50s, when I was in counterintelligence, I encountered people who had been high up in the German government, and they imparted to me what actually went on. And quite frankly, most of them really didn't understand, whether they were civilians or they were in the military. They didn't have much choice. You march off and for the most part, engage the Russians. And so I got a good picture from people who were just fresh from war. It was only 8 years after, 9 years after the war was over. In fact, in Frankfurt, there were still buildings that had been knocked down and the rubble hadn't been cleared yet. And I worked in the I.G. Farben building for a while in Frankfurt, and so that city was pretty well cleaned up by the time I got there. But I spent a lot of time talking to people, especially high-ranking officers who were engaged during the war, and were telling me their version. And some of them were Nazis, absolutely no question, and they were quite proud of it. They thought that was still the answer. And you're going to have all sorts of ideas from people. But the majority of them said, we just didn't really understand where it was all going to end up. And but we were so desperate in the 1930s. Germany had been in depression from 1920 to 1931, 32. And the Germans were looking for a savior. And they thought it was Herr Schickelgruber. That's what they used to call him, Heinz Meyer, too. But Adolf Hitler's real name was Schickelgruber. And anyway, that was his mother's name. And anyway, he came along and promised him everything and took over the country. And we're in a different situation today. We're in a situation we have the internet, and we have radio programs like this, and I do 3 or 4 on this network, and then we do shortwave and also the satellite and the internet, and we're killing them. I mean, at the Bilderberger meeting this past week, they said, look, this thing was going out of control. Well, we better cool this thing off. We better not go for it right now. Well, I get news for the Bilderbergers. It's too late. It was too late in June of 2002. You can't turn back. And we're going to try you all, put you all in jail. And I keep on telling them, and these programs go all over the world. And everybody's got the same problem out there. Europe is in a depression. The unemployment of people between 17 and 35 years old is horrendous. And when they do go to work, they can't live on their wages. Europe is much more expensive than the United States to live in. And so these are the things that are happening in America, unfortunately. And there is a time that we can do something about it. And I just told you about Ron Paul's bill. And the other thing you can ask your congressman about, or tell them that you want the end of free trade and globalization. You want tariffs on goods and services coming into the country. And the reason you...
Okay. We lost Mr. Chapman for some reason. I heard...
6.7 million.
Okay.
But a good many of those jobs...
We lost you for just a second, Mr. Chapman. Are you still there?
Offshoring and outsourcing. And our Congress has stood by and allowed it to happen, and this one is no better than the rest of them. And if you pound on these two issues, we may have a chance. If we can't get them passed as legislation in the next couple of years, you're going to be in the streets. And that ain't very nice.
Well, hold those thoughts, Mr. Chapman. We'll be right back in about 3.5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. This is Drew Malone Range III. This is a Marines Disquisition heard live around the world on Wind Talkers Radio Network. It is the 28th day of May 2009. 3.5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.